Thank you, and thanks again for the introduction, and welcome everybody to this session. We will talk about XLSTAT. I will teach you the basics about the software. You will see what the software can do for you, and we will go through some live exercises in XLSTAT, followed by a Q&A session. Okay, so let's get started. Oh, it seems okay. That's working now. Thanks. This is the outline. So I'll start with a very quick overview and then teach you how the different ways we can import the data into XLSTAT, how we can prepare, structure our data sets so that XLSTAT can work properly. Then we'll see what's the best way to choose the appropriate XLSTAT feature, since XLSTAT has 270 statistical functionalities. Sometimes it becomes tricky, so I'll show you a quick way to get around with that. Then we'll see how to select variables, quantitative, qualitative, and then deep dive into the statistical analysis. We're going to see analysis of variance, descriptive statistics, and principal component analysis. And I'll finish with a couple of customization examples on XLSTAT tables and charts. And I will be happy at the end to answer your questions. Okay. So this is a funny one, but I just want to show you that, maybe you're one of these persons that they like to play with data, but they are not really into scripting or programming, and that's fine with that. The good news is that there are many people out there in the same situation, and also there are some very good software in the market, and one of the best solutions I found is XLSTAT. I have been working with this software since 2015, have given many training, customer technical support and consulting, and I just find it so easy to use it. And that was the reason, actually, that back in 1993, Dr. Thierry Famy, founder of XLSTAT, started developing it. He was doing his PhD thesis and couldn't really find an easy and user-friendly software, so he thought, okay, let's start doing VBA programming. And after a couple of years ago, XLSTAT became the most complete statistical solution for Microsoft Excel. And this is its ribbon that you can see in Excel, Microsoft Excel, if you have installed XLSTAT. Okay. Today, after a few years of great R&D work, we offer more than 250 statistical functions that could cover data preparation, data management, descriptive statistics, modeling, machine learning, text mining, and all sort of methods which are field oriented. Okay, so methods for risk analyst, for time series analysis, for quality control, sensory data analysis, quantitative marketers, and more. There is a fast, efficient support all over the week with expert statisticians that can help you at any time with any problem. We have more than 400 online tutorials, so you don't have to have an XLSTAT license to access these tutorials. You can use the software on both Windows and Mac. You can switch to different languages, and there is a connection between XLSTAT and R. So if you want to benefit from the unlimited R function, there is a way to do it in XLSTAT. And I'll show you how to through a quick example in a while. Okay, the XLSTAT ribbon is divided in two main parts. The first one highlighted in orange includes 120 essential features, okay, while the second one under the advanced features, these offers the field-oriented methods, as I said before, for sensory data analysis, marketing, survival licenses, and more. And overall, the software used by R&D teams, data scientists, teachers, students, consultants, and anyone basically who needs to take data-driven decisions. Okay, the very first menu in XLSTAT, right on the left, gives you access to online tutorials, the technical help documentation. You can open a ticket which is handled in 2 business hours from our support team, and then get access to many other options. So let me show you a little bit how it looks like on my screen. Okay, let me know if you can see my Excel spreadsheet in case.
Yes, we can see your Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, great.
Sheet 1.
Okay, so this is just Excel. Okay, I'm going to open a blank workbook, and I have previously installed the XLSTAT add-on. So is you double click on the execution file, then it gets installed automatically. And next time you open a blank Excel spreadsheet, you will get this extra tab on your Excel interface. Okay. And then, as you can see, it's a click and point interface, starting with the main XLSTAT menu, but I showed you before, with options, tutorials, videos, support, and other stuff. There is a search bar, so if you don't know where to find analysis of variance, precinct component analysis, or regression, you can search it here. So I type regression, and then in the results, this bar, you can see all the XLSTAT features, including the regression name, and then basically you can start your analysis from that one by opening the dialog box. Okay. Okay, there are some quick tools I'll show you later on during the XLSTAT exercises, and then this is the main ribbon. So functionalities are grouped by a theme. We start with functions that help you to prepare your data, such as transforming variables prior to modeling, or deleting missing data, or variable discretization, cleaning text data, and other. Then we go towards the descriptive statistics for quantitative, qualitative variables, visualizations like scatter plots, radar charts, box plots, probability plots. You can see that there are lots of visualization tools here. And then there are exploratory data analysis techniques, regression methods, techniques to cluster data, and machine learning tools such as naive Bayes classifier, random forest, support vector machine, parametric and non-parametric tests. And then under the advanced features, you will get all the field-orientated methods I mentioned previously. Okay, so that was a quick overview of the ribbon. If you want to get into the details and see how we run a feature, then everything is on that dialog box of the respective feature. So if you want to know the theory and the equations used to build that, you click on help, and then you can either watch the tutorial, you can contact an expert statistician, or you can simply open the software manual. Okay, so that will directly open the linear regression page, and it will describe the theory, what is linear regression, the different arguments of the dialog box. So what you need to enter in the data field, in the options tab, and at the very end, there is a description of the outputs tab and an interpretation of results. Okay. At the end, you will find references and links to the online tutorials. So if you want a real life data example, then click on that. You can download the demo file, open it, follow the step-by-step instruction. And this is a nice and easy way to run your first linear regression model. Okay, so back to the presentation. First thing you need to know to get started with XLSTAT is how to import data. It's the easiest part because XLSTAT is an Excel add-on, so your data are stored in the same environment. Okay, you don't need to use other data format, although you could, and I'm going to explain you how. So the standard way is that you open an Excel file using your browser, and that could be saved on your computer, on a Google Drive file, whatever. Another way also is to import another format. So if you have exported data by another software like SPSS, Minitab, or R, you could use the R formats function, which is available in our XLSTAT R module. This is what I mentioned before, that there is a link between XLSTAT and R. So the module behind is called XLSTAT R. Okay, here it is. And there is a list of R libraries here that give you access to one or multiple R functions. The good thing about it is that an XLSTAT user can import their own R libraries here. Okay, so let me show an example of how to import a non-Excel data format. I'm going to open the foreign file formats. So, okay. Yes. I'm going to choose SPSS, but this is a list of the other data formats I could use. And then I'm going to browse the SPSS data file from my computer. So I think it was here, training files, data import, and that was the survey.sav file. Okay, so I select this, click open, and now I'm ready to go. All I have to do is click OK, and it takes a couple of seconds, and XLSTAT is converting the SPSS data into an Excel table, and you can then copy paste it or start the analysis. Okay, so these are the data, and from here I can do sort of descriptive statistics, and I can directly select from the Excel spreadsheet. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to directly run the XLSTAT analysis using the SPSS data. Okay, so I hope this is clear. And last but not least, if you have big data sets, like data set that exceed a million rows, well, this typically is not possible in the standard XLSTAT format, simply because Excel has limitations. Okay, so this is one of the drawbacks, but XLSTAT is here to deal with this challenge. And what we did is implement a special importation method that loads into the computer's memory the millions of data points. Okay, so let me show you how to do this right away. Let's choose something from, okay, univariate plots. Okay, this is, by the way, a feature for visualizing univariate and bivariate data. Okay, so in order to import large data volume data stored in CSV or TXT files, I have to click twice here, twice, in order to see this orange seed. Okay, and then next step is to select the quantitative data. So I'm going to import the TXT file. This is the implementation wizard. File path. I'm going to click on these three dots. And this is the file where the big data are stored. So I'm going to double click. I believe the options by default. I can preview the data to see if everything looks fine. So the first row contains the variable labels. It don't have observation labels on the left, so I'm going to check this one. Okay, and now XLSTAT can suggest a list of the important variables. So the difference now is that I can't see the data in Excel because they are loaded into computer's memories. It's impossible to have them here since they are like 2-3 million rows. So, but I can select them from this window, and now I can start the analysis. Okay. To be honest, most of the XLSTAT users deal with data which don't exceed millions of rows. So they usually opt for the simple way, which is having their data in an Excel workbook and get them analyzed in the same interface. Once we've done this, we now need to prepare and properly structure the data so that XLSTAT can recognize the variables and the observations. There are two data formats that are acceptable by XLSTAT. The one is on the top left here, and it's the standard one, okay, what everybody uses for their analysis. In this data format, we have variables in columns and observations in rows. Observation can be an object, a person, a sample, etc. However, you can have a transposed data table. Okay, the second format you can see on the bottom left. Now we have observations in rows and variables in, observations in columns and variables in rows. And in order to let XLSTAT know that this is a transposed data table, we need to click on the arrow button in the dialog box. Okay? I'll show you in a while how to do this. Okay, so let's open the file to show you the two data formats. We're going to use the iris dataset. Okay. So this is the first data format, and let's open again the univariate plots dialog box. By default, this arrow here is green. It means that variables are represented by columns and observations by rows. Okay, so if I select those, and XLSTAT will function without any error. Okay. Now, if I open the same dialog box and I go to the tab called Format to, I need to click once here, sorry, so that we can see the red arrow. Now we can select the quantitative data, and we are selecting the rows instead of columns, and it's going to work properly. However, if I go back to the initial data format and I select rows, then XLSTAT should warn that this is not right. Okay, so this is another good thing. The XLSTAT sends alerts when we haven't done the data selection properly. Another thing we can do while preparing the data prior to an analysis is dealing with missing data. We can either remove them or replace them using the missing data options. Or we can use a specific feature called missing data. Okay. But first, what is important is to let XLSTAT know what is a missing value for us. So let me show you an example. This is the same data set as before, but I've removed a couple of values, and these cells are highlighted in yellow. So we may have empty cells, or we may have NA, and all these are considered as missing data. We could also have a known value or 99. And if we run the univariate plots, as I did before, then XLSTAT will stop running because we need to tell what to do with these missing values. So first thing is to go to the XLSTAT options and data and check what we should consider to be as a missing data. So the first one is right. Consider empty cells as missing data. But we also want to consider the NAs as missing data. So let's check this one. And I'm going to check the other ones in case we have different types. Okay, then save, close. If we run the descriptive statistics, then we should expect XLSTAT to say, okay, there are two, let's see, missing values for the petal length. So let's see if we can get this right. Quantitative data. Okay, let's take sepal length, sepal width, petal length. Okay. And of course, very important, we need to include the missing data statistic here. So, but for me, I'm going back to the Outputs tab, and I have to check number of missing values. So let's get it run again. And we should now have a row called number of missing values. And this is right. So XLSTAT properly recognized all empty cells, but also the NAs. And the second way is to use a more advanced feature called missing data. This table here on the left is quite simple, but we may have complex data where we will need to use more advanced algorithm to replace, estimate the missing values. Okay, so these are a couple of the options that the feature proposes. Okay, you can replace by mean, nearest neighbor, Naples, multiple imputation, and you can also do a bunch of stuff if you have qualitative data like yes, no, maybe. In this case, you can replace by the mode, nearness, neighbor, and the other options here. Okay. Missing data issues are really often, and it's one of the most common questions I used actually to get in the customer support service, and people were surprised to and happy to find that XLSTAT was offering all these options to handle missing values. Now, once the data are clean and nice, we are ready to analyze them. So we can pick up an XLSTAT feature from the ribbon, and the first step is to select the right variables in the right fields. There are different ways to do that. The most popular way is to select them right from the Excel spreadsheet using the mouse or the touchpad. And this happens when you can see this little icon here represented by a mouse. But you can also use a list mode. Maybe some of you have already used SPSS, so it's quite similar. You have a little window here where you can see the variable names which are present in your spreadsheet. Okay, so let's see together how that works. Okay, and to change, let's open a linear regression window. So when you see this blank field here, it means that you need to select variables. Okay, sometimes these fields are obligatory, but some others are optional. And when it's the case, you will see this little checkbox here. Okay, like observation labels. If we don't have observation labels, then that's fine. We just uncheck it. But in order to run in order to run an ANOVA or linear regression, I don't know if you noticed, but the name of the dialog box changes depending on whether we have quantitative or qualitative explanatory variables. So if we only have quantitative, then we have linear regression. And in this case, we need to select a quantitative explanatory dependent variable, also called the response variable. Okay? So the easiest way is to click directly on the column D or on whatever column your response variable is in, and then click enter. And we do the same for the explanatory variables. So let's select sepal length, and then we click OK to run the analysis. But imagine if you have a very big data set with hundreds of columns, hundreds of variables, then instead of searching for your column on the right and left, you can do this much quicker. So I'm going to click once here, and now this is converted to a small window here, and we are going to select the variables using this little window. All you have to do is to place your cursor inside the Excel tab where your data is stored. Okay, this is very important. So I have to click either here or inside the data table, whatever, but you can't be like here. So I'm going back to this table and linear regression. I'm showing it again. I click once, and you can see all the variables labeled here. So let's check for sepal length and petal width. Okay. Then we click OK, and that should give the results of linear regression. Okay, well, I hope that was clear enough. And choosing the right feature can be quite tricky. I'm sure you remember the XLSTAT ribbon I showed you previously, and all these features that are grouped by a theme. So under machine learning, you may wonder, okay, should I choose for random forest or for regression trees? Or under modeling, should I choose for a linear or a nonlinear regression? And there are different ways to deal with it. So you can either go through the statistical guides we have online. Okay, so it's a series of documents that gives you a grid saying, okay, depending on the type of variables you have, quantitative, qualitative, mixed, and the question you are studying, then you should opt for this method. Okay, so the grid looks like that. You always have a couple of columns saying, so you should, go to the cell where which corresponds to your project, and then answer the questions, and at the end you will get the method which is appropriate for your situation. So these grids are really helpful, but I will focus more on my assistant. That was a really nice project of the customer and training support team. We handle hundreds of questions every day. Most of them are statistical. So at the end, we sat and said, okay, so why all these people, are sometimes struggling with choosing the right future, and when does this happen? So we studied this problem, and we came up with dynamic learning phase called My Assistant, which looks like that. And the second button here is what interests us for choosing the right future. Okay, the other two are pretty handy too if you are a beginner with XLSTAT. But if you already know how to import and select your variables, but you don't really know if this or another model is the best for you, then click on choose the right method and go through the questionnaire. So every page is like a question you need to answer. So what would you like to do with your analysis? Okay, let's say I want to analyze my data. What type of analysis do you want to perform? Is it more general? Is it a sensory data analysis, marketing, time series? Let's say general analysis. What would you like to do with your data? Do I want to determine the relationships between variables, or do you want to verify if the data set is valid? And going through these questions, okay, so at the end, XLSTAT will suggest the best function, okay? And all you have to do then is click on that, which will directly open the dialog box. So feel free to play with that and try all the different combinations. Okay, so if I choose something else, then obviously XLSTAT will suggest a different function. Okay. So I hope this part was clear too. but feel free to type the question now, and I will answer at the end. And this is the heart of this session, and which we talk about how to set up an analysis from scratch. We kind of almost saw all these steps using through the data preparation and data selection part, but that's a quick reminder. So there are 4 steps. The first one is select your data, then choose the output. Remember, first time I run descriptive statistics, I forgot to check the number of missing values, so that's an important step as well. Whatever you choose here will appear at the XLSTAT report tab. You can also choose to have some charts in the report, and the OK button will launch the computations. Computations are run in C++, and which makes it really powerful and quick. And the interface is built in VBA. Let's see 3 examples. Okay, the first one is about descriptive statistics. One of the top 3 XLSTAT features, I think, according to statistics. What we can try to do here is to describe one or several variables independently, but also study the link between 2 variables. These are a couple of definitions that can help you understand the arguments of the dialog box. So in the first field, we need to select a variable that can be quantified. In the second field, we need to select a variable that takes categorical values. And the subsamples here can be used to divide the population into groups, into subsamples. And that has to be a qualitative variable, like a bicycle, a car, or yellow, brown. And what we can do is, well, we can describe quantitative variables, but we can also describe only qualitative variables. So if you don't have quantitative data, then that's fine. You just need to uncheck the first field and check the second one. But you can also explore the relationship between a quantitative and a qualitative variable. In this case, you need to check the first field and the last one, and that's what we are going to do now. Okay, so I'm going to open a data set and go through the descriptive statistics features. We are going to draw a box plot and also a bar chart using the same feature. Okay. So suppose this is a customer database where rows correspond to customer. So we have 30 people, customers who shop online shoes. And we have different variables in columns, such as the origin, where they come from, their gender, their height, their shoe size, weight, time spent on the website, their preferred brand, and their invoice amount. So we have 1, 2, 3 qualitative variables, and the rest of them are quantitative, numerical variables. And the first task will be compute the mean invoice per origin and visualize the subsamples using a box plot. We could, of course, compute the mean invoice amount for the whole population, but I think it will be more interesting if we will do that per origin or per gender. Like that, we can compare, and Boxplot is a great tool to compare groups. Okay, so we go under describing data, we click on descriptive statistics. I have to reset the dialog box because it kept in memory the previous data selection. But if I don't want XLSTAT to keep that in memory, then there is a way to do that in the XLSTAT options under the XLSTAT menu here. Okay, so let's do that now so that it no longer. Okay, so we need to uncheck memorize during one session, and let's go back. So you see now it's empty. Any idea what we have to enter in the quantitative data? Well, that's the column I, it's the invoice amount, because we must compute the mean, the average of this quantitative variable. And as we said, we have to compare the mean across the different samples, the different groups, and that will be the origin. Why will be that? Well, we may look for, okay, do customers from Leeds spend more or less on average than customers from Newcastle? And how much do they spend on average compared to people from London? So this configuration will give this answer. We can do sort of a bunch of stuff here. Can standardize the data. We can rescale from 0 to 100. We can add or remove the outputs here. There is a long list here. Okay. And finally, we can set up the different charts. I just want a box plot here, but this is some other options. Okay. I would be interesting to group the plots since we have different origins here. Okay. Adapt the width, and we can have the label positioned below, and we could call by group. We could also sort by mean. Okay, so let's click OK. So the report starts with a summary table. This is always the case when running an XLSTAT analysis, and it already gives you an idea of the average invoice amount per origin. So we would expect on the box plot the average to be the lowest one for the Newcastle, okay, which is the case here. Okay, so big difference, big significant difference between these two, but also these two. Okay, and we can also observe a difference in terms of dispersion. So there is a lot more variability within this subsample than this one. Okay, so the size of the box can tell us a lot about the properties of the distribution. Okay, well, that was a simple exercise. What if we go through an analysis of variance, which is under the modeling tab, and usually we use ANOVA for group comparisons, and basically we have one quantitative variable, and we need to explain its variability by one of several qualitative variables. Okay, and ANOVA will do that by using the means and the variance. The main outcome of the ANOVA is this table here, and which is displayed by XLSTAT, and it also helps you. There is an interpretation text in the report to help you decide whether the model is significant or not, whether you can reject or accept the null hypothesis. Okay. So let's open the ANOVA dataset and see whether the taste and sweetness variables significantly change according to the product factor. Okay. So the product factor is our explanatory qualitative variable, and the taste and sweetness are our quantitative response variables. So let's only use one, actually, column C, sweetness. Okay. So sweetness should go under this field, and the product is a qualitative explanatory variable, so it should go here. We don't have observation labels, neither observation weights, so let's leave this by default. We could also run some validation. We could predict new values. We can handle missing data. We can run post hoc tests like Tiki, Fisher, and more. And we could choose charts here. We could run assumptions to see whether the model errors follow normality distribution. Okay. So ANOVA is one of the XLSTAT features with the most outputs. So you can see there are hundreds of rows here, and this is what we need to, one of the tables we can interpret here. Okay, so we have a couple of interesting ones like goodness of fit statistics to see the percentage of variability explained by the model. We can see whether the product variable brings important information to the model based on the p-values, and many other charts and tables. And then the last one is about principal component analysis, which is more a explanatory analysis. So imagine you have a multivariate data set of quantitative variables, and you would like to summarize the data. You would like to see where the variability is hidden in my data set among all these variables. And PCA is a good way to start with, because it offers some great visualization plots like B-plots and correlation charts. And what it will basically do is transform an initial data set to an artificial intelligent. Okay. And it will plot it in a set of dimensions called also factor and axis. I've put a couple of definitions here. I guess you will have the presentation, so that will help you to understand better what the principal component analysis does. And if we go back to the customer database, let's try to explore the links between the quantitative variables and the brand. Okay, so the brand could be used as a subsample. Okay, so under analyzing data, where we can find all the exploratory analysis, we see principal component analysis. In the first field, we need to choose all of the quantitative variables. Okay, so qualitative variables are not accepted here unless they are a group variable. So I could split the whole population in different subsamples using the origin or gender. Okay, so I'm going to use the subsample here. this is a window where we need to select the PCA axis. So it depends on the of the percentage of variability explained by the first two axes. You can either choose to plot this using the first two, or if you're not satisfied with the total variability explained, you can also plot on the next axis. Okay, and so you will see there are many charts and tables like the observation plots, the people by plot, and interpretations are made in terms of angles. Okay, so for example, vectors which are really close to each other, like the invoice and weight, are positively correlate, whereas time spent on the website and invoice amount are negatively correlated. Well, that makes sense. And then observations are customers. We could also choose to have names instead of observation 1, 2, and 3, and we can see which customers spend a lot of time on the website and which customers spends lots of money on the website. Okay. So let's keep the questions for the end. I would like to finish with this nice feature. There are lots of stuff we can do to customize the XLSTAT result sheet. So everything is available here under the XLSTAT menu. Mainly, if you go to Outputs and Charts, then you will see options such as color your tabs, choose where to display the results, and you can also use standard Excel options, okay, to change the vector colors or the names, and also use the XLSTAT visualizing data menu to customize an Excel chart. Okay, so I've put an example here. On the left is the standard XLSTAT scatter plot, and using the data visualization menu, I transformed it to the right one. So you can play around with the colors and the size of the observation point, which can depend on a quantitative variable, for example. And last but not least, we can export charts and tables on a single click. I don't know if you noticed, but on the very top of an XLSTAT report, I have these action buttons here. So this is to export on PowerPoint, Microsoft Word. Okay, so that will open a new dialog box. You simply check what you want to see on your PowerPoint, click OK, and the exportation starts, and it only takes like 2-3 seconds. Okay, so I'm very, very happy now to answer any questions. Just to let you know, I've also put some key resources at the end of the presentation. So that will take you to the online tutorials. There will be a video showing how to use My Assistant. You can see which are the upcoming webinars we host once per month. And you can join our Lumberg community, where you can discuss with other data professionals or fellow researchers. Okay. And if you want to go even further, then feel free to check the XLSTAT tips. Okay, so these are tips that can make the use of XLSTAT more efficient. Okay.
Great, Talia, and thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking through the question, but before we start with the question, I just wanted briefly to introduce also my colleague in Sweden, Kristen Valdén. Hi, Kristin. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Great.
Okay,
Christian
perfect.
is our newest employee. I think you started working with
Yes.
us in, was it May or June?
In June.
In June, yeah. But Christian is already on top of XLSTAT, the licensing options and pricing. So if you have any questions about license options and pricing for XLSTAT, you can contact her. Correct, Christian?
Yes, that's great. And I will try to reach out to all of you after this webinar as well to hear if you have any questions or if you want to know something more about XLSTAT or the licensing. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you. About the questions, Talia, we had some question. One was about the missing data. I think you demonstrated that perfectly, both methods prior to the analysis and also afterwards via the dialog boxes. So I don't think we need to touch on that. There's also a question about the R menu. Let me add to that. I think you mentioned, can you add your own R routines?
Yes. Yes, you can. So if you go down to the XLSTAT R menu, there is a line called Open the XLSTAT R folder. Okay. So there you'll find all the R libraries, and what it includes is an XML file. So this is where all the code is stored. So in order to add a new R function in XLSTAT, you need to open a new XML template, and where you simply have to rename the arguments. So if you want to have an argument in the dialog box called data1, then you set this up here, and at the very end you need to enter the R code. Okay, so basically you make a new folder here, okay, and you then import your XML file. Okay, and there is a tutorial showing more into details how to create this XML file. So it's quite easy, but it requires a bit of scripting. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can contact the support team through this menu, and you can ask them to add it for you.
Yes, thank you. I see that the time is running out, but since you're the last webinar, let's take the two last questions here. One is from one of our German attendees. Are XLSTAT available in other languages than English?
Yes, it is. So it's under the XLSTAT options, and we have English, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, I think simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese and Korean.
Thank you.
So if I switch to German and I click save and close, then everything will be translated.
Perfect. Okay, and last question for today. Training. Do you offer any courses on XLSTAT?
Yes, so we offer 3-day training, hourly training. We offer free webinars. Everything is on the lumivero.com website, or they can also go to the XLSTAT.com and request other tailored training course, or they can buy one of the predefined training courses.
Okay, thank you. Nice to know. Okay, I think we will end the day there. Thank you again, Talia, for your great presentation. Hope to see you again